Guys, when I was reading about this story, my jaw dropped. I could not believe it because I'm like, you're going to jail for 14 years for a domain name. Really? I mean, is it ever that serious? I just want to know, is it ever that serious? Let's get into the story, y'all, because it's a
All you hear is gossip. Man, all I hear is gossip. Yeah, man, call it gossip.
Rossi Lorathio Adams II noticed a business opportunity when in 2013 he was posting memes and occasionally inappropriate sexual content on his Twitter accounts. And this amassed like large followings, and he monetized them by posting links with embedded ads. And if someone clicked on one, he got paid. Now, if you think about it, he was posting things that drunk guys doing stupid stuff or hot girls, being totally exposed. So there was a market for that. People were going to not be able to take their eyes off of it. So this company called State Snaps LLC. Basically, this company aggregated posts. It was user submitted college drinking videos, college just craziness. It featured people doing stupid ish for the company, basically, and it would be posted all over social media. It would be on Instagram, it would be on Twitter, it would be everywhere, and it was going viral. And the tagline was "Do it for the state," which comes from "Do it for the vine." I ain't gonna do it for the vine. Anyway, so "Do it for the state" was the tagline. Now, I think a lot of us may not have heard of this. So the equivalent would be like those crazy fighting videos, and you would see people screaming out "World Star," basically. So that's the equivalent, but this was for college age craziness. And by 2015, it was starting to take off. It was becoming popular. Now, these two guys, Ethan Deo and his brother Chris Deo, they had no ties to State Snaps, but they noticed a business opportunity. Like, they purchased the domain name doitforstate.com in January 2015, like when they noticed that State Snaps was going viral. And to be honest, it's super smart. Like, they were on it. So they wanted to capitalize on the fact that State Snaps was doing well. It was going viral. They wanted to get on the wave, get the hype, and they started selling merch. And they basically even started promoting parties under the tagline. So Ethan contacted a friend named Brandon Miller, who was a party promoter, and basically he threw events across the country, and they asked him to use the hashtag DoItForState to promote the parties, and the brothers would showcase the event on the doitforstate.com website. And at the same time, Ethan filed to trademark Do It For State, just because they knew that they had something on their hands, basically, which at the same time, when I think about it, is not fair to Rossi, but it's business, right? These types of things happen. So during spring break 2015, he received an Instagram DM from the State Snaps account telling him to stop using the hashtag to promote parties. Now, he disregarded the message. He was promoting a party at the time. So what Adams did was that he posted Miller's phone number on social media and encouraged thousands of followers to spam him. And it crashed Miller's phone. So Miller got Adams' phone number, sent him a text message asking why would he reveal his number publicly. And apparently Adams was like, "We're not friends. You need to quit doing this. I already gave you a warning." And he ended with a handgun emoji, which is kind of like, is it ever that serious, dude? Like, I understand you're upset that they're capitalizing under something that you created, but there's nothing that you can't force them. Or I guess the best action would be to get a lawyer and do one of those popular cease and desist letters. I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, that's the phrase, right? So at that same time, Adams must have realized that someone bought the domain, and he researched and found the person who trademarked it was Ethan Deo. And this blows my mind. Adams showed up at Deo's house unannounced, quote, to clear up the situation, quote unquote, which at the same time, I kind of feel like you don't just show up in someone's house. Like, you're trying to intimidate him. This is a tactic. Like, you're trying to show, I know where you live. You need to stop this, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, they had a civil conversation apparently. Deo admitted that he owned the domain name and the trademark. Adams gave Deo his phone number so the two could arrange a meeting to talk further. So in July of that summer, Ethan, Chris, and Brandon Miller met with Adams, and they were just discussing partnering up and expanding the State Snaps brand. But apparently the four of them could not come to any sort of agreement. And, basically Adams wanted ownership of the domain name. And the brothers wanted a bigger cut than Adams was willing to give. So basically they couldn't reach an agreement, which I understand. I guess Adams was like, I created this, I own this, y'all should get pennies on the dollar. And the brothers were like, nah, basically. I mean, I'm assuming that's that's my take on it. But basically they couldn't agree on anything. So apparently 2 days later after this meeting, Adams stops by again for yet another meeting. They talked for like an hour, couldn't reach an agreement again. And apparently throughout 2015, the brothers continued to do what they were doing, and Adams continued to do what he was doing. So they kept ownership of the website, and State Naps continued to become more and more popular on social media. And at this point, his follower account at Rossi Adams' follower account went well past 1 million. It was also going well. He had gone from Snapchat, which was getting hundreds of thousands of views. He was getting recognized when he was going to Cancun and like random places. It was taking off basically. At one point, he wore a "Do It for a State" t-shirt on the beach, and people apparently came up to him. So he knew that this was taking off, and he wanted to capitalize off of it by building a website that would piggyback off of the social media accounts and would become another stream of income. So he wanted to expand basically, and he wanted the URL doitforastate.com to complete the brand basically. Now he had already doitforstate.com, but he wanted to take advantage of every financial opportunity available, and he wanted to own, he really wanted to own all parts of it, basically. And apparently he became obsessed with it a bit. And with State Snaps doing so well, Deo did not want to sell the domain. Like, it was just not happening. He knew that it was valuable, and he did not want to lose it. So they decided to settle for statesnapsglobal.com, and which had already been purchased by Rossi Adams back in 2015 as well. So he owned several versions of this website, just not the one that he wanted. Like that domain would just complete everything. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. Now, apparently, Rossi Adams has a cousin, Sherman Hopkins, and he had done jail time for perjury. The guy struggled with homelessness and drug addiction, and it was as if like this cousin had nothing to live for or whatever. I don't know. I'm just like, anyway, on June 2017, Adams and Sherman started talking about State Snaps, and apparently Adams felt like Deo robbed him, and by taking the site, and it was like views that he deserved, and Adams wanted it back. Now Hopkins, was happy to help apparently, and this was a business that already at this point was probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think the reason why Hopkins wanted to hop on was also, to get a piece of the pie. So over the course of, several conversations, a plan emerged. Now, catch this. This was the plan. So Hopkins would break into Ethan Deo's house, force him to transfer the domain to Adams, and that, that would be it. Now the domain would be owned by Rossi. Blank stare. What? How? Like, this does not even feel fully thought out. And, Rossi Adams kind of threw his cousin under the bus because his lawyer, Adams' lawyer, insisted that Hopkins acted on his own, but the cousin was like, nah, Adams was in on it from the beginning, which makes more sense. It seems like there was an informal agreement in that Hopkins would do this and Adams would take care of him. But yeah. So Adams puts on a pantyhose, sunglasses, a cap. He had a pistol and a taser. He goes to Deo's house, and at some point Deo looks out the window and sees a man with a gun in his foyer. So he barricades himself into a room. At this time, Adams drives off. He's the getaway car basically. So he waits in a parking lot, Walgreens parking lot, and Hopkins is in the house at this point, and he breaks into the room and forces Deo by gunpoint into his office. Basically, Hopkins hands him a piece of paper, and the paper basically says, go to GoDaddy.com, sign in, go to domains, click check, transfer domain, do it for stay, blah, 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 etc. Like all the details to transfer the domain from his account into Adam's account, which is kind of like, how do you commit this crime? I don't even understand. Like, this crime clearly points to you. Clearly. But it took some time. So basically, Deo fears for his life. They start wrestling for the gun. He gets shot in the leg. Then he takes 2 shots, shoots Hopkins twice in the chest, and immediately calls for 911. And police come. Both of them survive, except that Hopkins almost died. One of the bullets hit his spine, and it caused permanent nerve damage. I mean, listen, don't commit a crime. You don't have to do the time. Anyway, so I don't feel bad for him. He was convicted. He was charged with first-degree burglary, robbery, and kidnapping. And it's kind of, we don't know what Adams did at this time, but no one suspected Adams at this point. But he did call GoDaddy 3 times to see if it had gone through. It hadn't. So all of that, and he did not get the domain name. Continued on as if nothing happened, kept posting content for State Snaps on Twitter, Instagram, etc. He actually did not need the domain name at all to be successful, ironically enough. Like, he made $100,000, I think, off of Instagram alone. But anyway, he thought he had gotten away with it, but in September 2018, he got stopped by the cops. Now, he got questioned originally when his cousin was stopped, and it was suspicious, but not enough to hold him, basically. So I think the cops were kind of building their case. And in September, he was arrested for his role in the extortion of Ethan Dale. And so on December 9th, he was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $7,500 in restitution and an additional $1,400 to Ethan Dale. Numbers are not exact because they don't matter, but he had to pay a lot of money for all of this. And he plans to appeal. We'll see what happens from there, but it sounds like you're guilty, dude. Like, why would your cousin even care about this domain name if he didn't think that he was going to get some money from you some way, somehow? We shall see what happens. His cousin was sentenced to 20 years. And the crazy thing is that under the Deos, the doitforstate.com website never amounted to anything. Since 2018, the URL just goes to a blank page. So all of this for something that he didn't need and for something that went nowhere, ultimately. Yeah, so my question is, was it worth it, dude? Was it worth it? Anyway, that's it, guys. Tell me your thoughts on this whole story. I read a story that kind of said this was the epitome of what State Snaps is about, the fact that it ended in this kind of like violent bloodshed. I just found that kind of interesting because it's, you know, it just, I guess it goes with the brand kind of. But listen, does jail time, does that go with the brand as well? Anyway, what are your thoughts on this whole story? I just thought it was crazy, like too crazy to believe. I thought it was a joke. I thought I was reading satire until I started seeing it pop up in several different news channels. So what are your thoughts on this? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Man, call it gossip.